The Green Suiters podcast is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to support our show, get access to special perks, and listen to this episode ad-free, then head over to www.patreon.com/Green Suiters podcast to find out how. Before getting into this episode, we'd like to thank the following new patrons for joining our growing podcast community: Anthony Geis, Kevin Willingham, Tim Black, Chad Lincoln, and Ben Lund. Thank you for your support. Now, on to the show. So we were just talking that we're gonna do a photo. Well, not really a photo shoot. We're gonna do a faux photo shoot where Jason is gonna be Jabba the Hutt, and I'll Photoshop his face on Jabba's body. I'm gonna be
don't need to. It's probably pretty close to it already.
And I know this little character's got the name. He has a name. Whatever the little rat guy is by Jabba's tail, that's gonna be me. And then Sedge is going to be Leia.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oof.
we're going to be...
I'm going to lay ya.
Come on, I want to lay ya.
Jabba the Sortainer.
Jabba the Sortainer. Oh, God. That's great.
We're gonna sit atop a throne of sustainers.
Yeah, great idea from one of our proud patrons.
Sipping on some Festal Hater tears.
Yeah. What was the character in Spaceballs? Oh, Pizza the Hut.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Jason the Hutt.
Yeah. Hey, is this episode's going to still be a February one, obviously, right? Yeah.
Yeah. This will come out right before as we're leaving Workbench Con.
No, while we're already at Workbench Con.
Let me double check.
Well, yeah, for the you're right, for the free feeds. Well, while you're looking at that, let me quickly get the giveaway stuff out of the way. So again, this month we are doing a giveaway with Bessie Tools North America, not Ameria, Ben. Bessie Tools.
It tagged somebody, you know.
Yeah, I clicked on
wasn't
it.
Wasn't the right Bessie.
Yeah. Bessie Tools North America this month, they'll be giving away to one winner a set of Bessie Uniclamps. And to enter, you go to greensuiterspodcast.com, click on the tab for giveaway and fill out the form, and you will be entered into the giveaway for the month of February. And that's how we will be taking entries moving forward. And this is open to US and Canada. However, it is not open to Alaska and Hawaii.
Oh,
thank you, Bessie Tools North America.
Thank you, Bessie.
If you already submitted your name to our email, don't worry about it. I'll just transfer your information over to the new system that we're using. But going forward, it's all going to be off the website. What's up, Sedge?
Can I enter?
You can, but you'll never win.
Oh, yeah. Man.
I've got a filter for you two guys to never win.
Oh, God. I love Bessie.
Oh, that's not fair. No one said I couldn't win.
Jason, can you explain to me what exactly a eunuch clamp is?
I said uni-clamp.
Oh, I thought you said eunuch clamp.
No, I didn't. I don't want to get into your weird.
There's nothing to clamp, you know.
Your sexual fantasies on the weekends.
I used to be a part-time eunuch.
Yeah.
You know, Ben. Now that I think about it, you do kind of look like Lord Ferris.
I do, don't I, Jason?
Yeah. There you go. That could be your next.
Hang on. Let me get my hands proper in my.
Oh my God.
Jason, we will unite the 7 kingdoms.
Yeah.
Oh, silly.
God, I need to watch that series again.
Yeah, that's good.
I told you.
It's a compliment calling me Lord Ferris.
I don't know.
Is that Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never watched that.
I mean,
I knew I didn't like you.
Yeah.
At least he goes out in style. A lot better than Lord Baelish, although that was a really cool one. Spoilers, sorry if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, guess what? They all die. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, funny story about that. Since we're on the topic of spoiler alerts, when I was a drill sergeant, one of my favorite things to do was spoil TV shows and sports events for the soldiers because obviously they couldn't watch them. Well, not Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones was like a really big deal. Matter of fact, that was towards the end of my time as a drill sergeant. But I remember even when I came off the trail and I went over to be a platoon sergeant, still at Fort Benning, I used to go visit all my buddies when they were out at the ranges. And because I loved it so much, you'd have like the whole company, they'd all be in the bleachers, and I'd go out there and they'd be looking at me like, who is this guy? You know, like I was a drill sergeant here for 3 years, right? And I'd be like, hey, privates, listen up. Who here likes Game of Thrones? They're like, oh, I do, Sergeant. I do, Sergeant. I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, so-and-so dies. And then I would just walk away. God, that was the best job ever.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Best job ever.
That's pretty
Anyway.
good.
Are we doing what we've been up to tonight?
Yeah. What have you been up to, Jason?
I'm not going to bore everybody with the house stuff. I've talked about it enough on my stories, but
ad nauseum.
Yeah. So moving forward, I will not really talk about much of any of that anymore, but I got in the shop finally to cut wood, and it was awesome. And I started the desk, basically, is what I did. So
cool.
I got the 2 end caps done. I got the pieces cut for the back portion of it. So this weekend, actually, I take that back. This Friday, I'll be off. And this Friday, I should be continuing to work on the desk and getting the base cabinet and everything built. And it's moving right along. It's a fairly easy build. So, but I'm kind of just messing around with lots of different things. And it's going to be a completely over the top desk. And so I'm using domino connectors to put the whole thing together and just make it nice and rigid. But because I'm using like 8-quarter material for the pieces that are all connecting together, I'm using the 700 connectors again. But for the back panel, I was going to like route a groove so it slid into the end pieces. And then somebody wrote me, they're like, why don't you use the Lamello? And I'm like, good point. And I was filming all of this. I wasn't going to, but I was like, you know what? I'll just film, because I can just film snippets here and there and maybe do a different style build video or whatever. And I'm like, I can't remember who it was that wrote me the comment. I was like, oh, dude, that's a totally good idea, because I haven't messed with the Lamello yet. And to use both dominoes, because I use the 500 as well, to use both dominoes and use the Lamello.
Now you need to put the castle in there
on this desk, which I probably will I'm going to just
the drawers.
Watch people's heads explode.
Stir the pot. What
you ought to do is like have a shot where like you have all 4 lined up and you're like,
which one do I want to use today?
700.
And then I'm going to title the video DIY desk build that you can do with minimal tools.
That's
I totally want to do it. DIY.
Oh, dude.
DIY desk build on a budget using
there would be
tools.
So many. We would have Get Bent segment comments for years if you did that.
That's exactly what I was thinking. You got to start just doing. We all start doing videos to get more Get Bents like that.
Oh yeah, like turn the channel into more of a comedy thing than anything.
A Get Bent farm.
Yeah. Oh. Wait till you hear a couple of the ones I have tonight. Oh my God.
That is hilarious.
And then another thing too, if you want to read some really good comments, you remember that bandsaw video where I was cutting the dominoes?
Yeah. Yeah.
I reposted that again the other day as a reel.
Yep.
And all I put on it was, I think all I wrote was like, that was close, let the hate commence or something like that. Because I knew because every time it draws a bunch of hate. Well, surprisingly, for the first few days, it didn't draw any hate. But then it grew its legs, and I'm telling you, it has like 400,000 views. Everybody that's commenting on it now, none of them follow me. They're just seeing it, and you should see the comments. We could do an entire episode of everybody telling me why it happened, how stupid I am. Oh, that's why they make zero clearance. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I know all of those things. I know everything that you're about to tell me. I just wanted to get the engagement, and man, did it work.
That's funny.
It is crazy.
It would be funny if you could like have one of those clips, but if you could just like superimpose like a Lamborghini in the background, or like just make it look like you have all this nice stuff, but you just have no idea how to use any of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just-
You'd be surprised by
Really?
how many comments I got about PPE and wearing iPro and all that stuff. All you can see
Really?
is my hand.
Is your hands? Yeah. Where's his glasses at?
Yeah. One word, eye protection. Like, how do you know I wasn't wearing any? Like, you can't see anything.
What a
You got the
DB,
blade.
man.
You have the blade guard too high. That's why it happened. Yeah, I know. And this is to show people what happens when you're an idiot.
Goodness.
But hey, I got 400,000 views on that bad boy. Not that I
Yeah.
got anything out of it because it's
Yeah.
Instagram. But other than that, haven't really been up to much. I did have a realization. I think I am officially, everybody has this misconception that we're all like professional woodworkers that do this full time. I'm legit a weekend woodworker at best now.
Yeah.
This weekend on Sunday, that was the first time, minus like a couple instructional videos where I just did like quick demos. But that was no joke, the first time in over a month that I've actually been out there just actually working and building something.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just,
Garbage.
yeah, I'm just an idiot. Like, why am I even making YouTube videos? Why would anybody listen to me? No, it's just
Such a fraud.
it's frustrating, but again, it just kind of solidifies like, hey, my retirement's right around the corner. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just need to stick it out and, you know, take advantage of the little bit of time that I do get, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I listen to you guys and I think how lucky I am, you know, because I do woodworking for a job during the day. I teach it and I'm around tools, and I do like to come home and work, but most of my work at home is on the weekends, but I do it for a living, and I guess I'm really lucky. My full-time job is woodworking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, and I think about it and I go, God, daggone it, am I a lucky guy?
Well,
Okay,
that's
said you
one-
work for Festool. Just rub it in our faces, okay?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Geez,
Oh,
brag about it.
you should see the prototypes I worked on today. Wow.
Yeah. So
How many tools did you throw away from the mezzanine today, Sedge?
I was at Indie Urban Hardwood. Woohoo! Today. We're gonna do a shop talk from there. It was wicked cool.
God, he's got some lumber in there. Ooh. Jace, you've been there, haven't you?
I went there once, but he wasn't in that day.
Yeah, we got to go together because Brian is, what a tour de force that guy is. He's so much fun to listen to. I took Chris down with me, Cybert,
Mhm.
you know, and he was just like, man, he goes, Sage, you can talk. But man, that guy can talk. he's a super nice guy. He's like
So-
one of those networking guys. He doesn't know. I think he knows it kinda, but he's like that hub that everybody knows and they connect. He knows where to get everything done around Indianapolis. He's awesome.
I have a confession to make, Sedge.
Shoot.
We
I
already
didn't know.
We already know.
I didn't know that Chris's last name was Cybert until
Yeah.
about a
Oh,
month,
I thought you were going to tell us the other thing that you don't tell anybody.
until about a month ago. This entire time, I thought his last name was Cyber.
Really?
Yeah, because that's what it sounds like in the
Yeah.
Festool Lies. And Chris, the unit Cyber. I'm like,
Cyber.
Cyber, that's a really cool last name.
He's a wicked cool guy.
Hey, what's your name, buddy? Cyber.
He's 26 years old, man. He's living
Really?
large. Oh yeah. He went to Ball State and right out of school. He had a great job, but he came to work for us two
quite a
and a
way.
half years ago.
It's quite
I
a way
still
to
call
start
him
at the start, man.
Has it really been that long?
Oh yeah.
Wow,
They
it doesn't
started
seem
in-
like that.
Guys, we're gonna start our third year of COVID here. This creeps me out when I think about it, you know?
Yeah.
God. But way cool.
I envy when I can be woodworker 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. It's coming soon enough.
It's amazing. I've been
I
doing
just-
it for a long time, even before festival with the shop, you know, my cabinet shop. I mean,
I just want to
love
enjoy
to
the
build.
weekends, you know,
oh yeah.
enjoy the time with family and be able to dedicate, you know, put the kids on the bus or, you know, take them to daycare, pick them up from daycare. But during the day, just get stuff knocked out. And on the weekends comes, I can go places and, oh, I can't wait. I'm just ready for it to happen.
It's good living, man.
Mhm.
And what have you been up to?
I have been making videos in my basement of just me.
Mm.
I watch a lot of videos that are made by people in basements. Different kind of video, though.
Well, some people consider those basements dungeons.
Yeah,
We're
we're talking about porn videos, everybody.
Just wanted to clear the air on that.
Yeah, just
Just didn't want anybody to be confused.
to be
Yes, that's why we call him Hans.
clear. Yeah.
I shot and filmed 2 videos since the last recording that we did. Published one today, and the other one is coming out on Sunday. I have not my first free product coming in, but I reached out to a lighting company within the last few days, and they're sending me some free lights. It's not American Green Lights; it's another one.
What?
What?
Yeah, I am not okay. I'm not
Can I
hopeful
hold
that
on?
it's
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah.
I just wanted to make an announcement. Everybody, Sedge and I are looking for a new host for the podcast, so send your emails.
Resume must include working with American Green Lights.
Well, I'm waiting on them to return or to get back with me. It's been about a month, so I figured that I could get these lights in the interim, and it would also be a good comparison video when I put
Nice,
American Green
good
Lights
idea.
up.
It's actually
Because
a good
this
idea.
this other company, I think they're called Barina. There are a lot of YouTube videos on these, and I mean, from the videos, they look good. The CRI is not as high as the American Green Lights, but so I'm interested to see what that difference is going to be, because I'm going to have both mounted up once I get the American Green Lights, and so I'll do an individual review and then a comparison of the two.
Can
So
you
I
say the
think-
name again of the company?
I think it's.
I just
think
wanted
it's
to look it up.
Barina LED.
Oh, Purina?
Yeah.
Oh, there they are.
What? They are cheap lights. What?
Don't they make dog food too?
Purina.
That's
Not-
Purina.
Barina.
We're just messing with you. It's weird when the shoe is on the other foot, isn't it, Ben?
I don't have any shoes on my feet, Jason.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying Sedge is giving it back. Anyways,
What do you mean?
continue, please. Purina.
So they're supposedly sending out some units for me to review. So that was a cool experience, just because I haven't reached out to a company before to kind of
Mhm.
leverage my audience in order to get products to review. So that was kind of gave me a little bit of momentum to start reaching out to other companies that I would be interested in trying out their products. So just kind of starting that journey. But that's all I've really been up to. And just schoolwork, man. Schoolwork. Just we were talking before we started recording how Sedge and I are both exhausted. We record on Tuesdays, and Tuesdays are my longest days at school, and man,
I'm telling
I'm
you.
tired.
Yeah, I was going straight from 6 this morning until 6 tonight. It was crazy.
And I've got schoolwork to do tonight after we're done recording, so it's just
Oh, man.
it's a grind right
Good
now.
night.
Yeah. But really great week. I mean, it's I feel like I'm starting to make progress on my YouTube channel again. It's a lot of people commented on the video that I released today. They're like, "Hey, it's good to see you, putting videos out again, and we're glad you're
Mhm.
back." And so it was very cool to see other content creators posting on my page saying that it was good that they're glad to see me back. So it's good to be back
Cool.
on the tubes.
You're on
But-
YouTube.
You didn't know that?
Oh wow.
I'm on Vimeo. What was the competitor to YouTube back in the day?
MySpace.
No,
No.
that was Facebook.
Um,
Or no, not Tumblr.
Um,
Vidler. That was it. Vidler.
Diddler?
I'm on Vidler now, guys. You didn't know
Nice.
that? I'm on Vidler.
I'm
I just
trying to get on
downloaded
Amazon
Netscape.
Prime.
What was it? What were the other searches? Lycos, Netscape,
Yeah.
Ask Jeeves. You remember that one?
Oh yeah, Ash Jeeves. Then it became just ask.
Yeah, then it became just Ask.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Well,
there's
it was-
a lot
it
of
was
other search engines,
Jeeves was
but
offending people.
there's a lot of search engines that are still being used that just Google filters it all out. You don't even know that they exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, Google search engines and Google just Googles itself.
Oh,
Like, what do you
there's
mean there are no other search engines, guys?
there's a lot of platforms, search platforms that actually go through Google because of Google's might and how they have certain lists that or blacklist. Go listen to Joe Rogan with Dr. Epstein. I just listened to it, and he said to Joe, "You won't ever use Google again when I'm finished with this podcast."
Jeez.
And the data that this guy has generated is absolutely amazing. And you know what it is? It's just an eye opener. I had no idea the power of that company. It's pretty wild.
No, it's ridiculous. They're everywhere.
Yeah. What's so cool about Joe? He's just so curious, and he has anybody on.
Yeah,
there.
just such a wide range of people.
Oh my God, he's doing. I'm listening right now. I finished that, and I started this guy I just love, and he's the one I got involved with Joe. Him and Graham Hancock. This guy's Randall Carson. He's a geologist, but it's just unbelievable when he talks about certain land formations and how they were created and stuff like that. I tell everybody you got to listen to this guy because he's a hoot.
It's pretty cool.
I
Yep,
wonder if he would have
sure.
me on his podcast.
I'm scheduled for July 8th.
Are you?
Yeah,
Drop my name, would you?
I will. He has on there a lot of guys from Black Rifle
Mhm.
Company, you know, the coffee. And
Yeah.
you know my buddy Doc Wright, he actually
Yeah.
helped design. Did you see the Black Rifle
The
Company?
Tesla?
Yeah, the
The
Yeah,
Tesla
yeah.
With the
bar or
guns and
whatever.
everything?
Mhm.
Yeah, that little coffee bar out back Doc made.
Yeah.
It's pretty
cool.
wild.
no.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. You guys ready
Sedge.
to jump into?
Well, Sedge already kind of talked about what he was up to.
Yeah,
What? Oh, just that I was down at Indy?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Oh.
You're running around
Okay.
everywhere. But we're going to get into tonight's topic, which is brought to you by one of our patrons, Jerry from GA Woodshop,
Woo!
sponsoring this episode. Jerry, this is your episode, buddy. Episode
Woo!
24. Every 5 episodes, we get one of our top tier patrons to host one of our podcast episodes. They get to pick a topic, a question, comment, concern, complaint, and then we get to take it and turn it into a point of discussion for the entire episode.
It's going to be
So-
a good one.
It is a good one. This is actually a really good one. I think it's closely related to 17, 18, where we talked about tools.
Mm-hmm.
But this one's a little bit more in depth,
Mhm.
I feel. And it's a little bit more, it's got a little bit more weight to it. So, Jerry's question for the podcast tonight is, what goes into your decision-making process for large tool purchases? This is assuming that you don't do content and you don't have any sponsors. In other words, when purchasing a new table saw, joiner, planer, bandsaw, dust collector, etc., how do you go about making the decision on which brand and model to go with? Are you looking at brand, quality, cost, features, other content creators' recommendations? And he throws out a couple of brands in there. Pretty much just saying, like, you know, aside from like the key technology, like you were talking about SawStop, apart from that one feature, are you looking at anything else whenever you're making these really big purchase decisions? So I think, Jason, you want to go first?
Yeah. How do you want to break this down? Because I think there's lots of specific pieces of this that I think each of us would have different takes on.
I think the biggest, well, I guess the first thing we could talk about is like what has been like the catalyst for you to think about that, like your first big tool purchase. Like, what was it that convinced you to put yourself kind of over the edge, so to say, to buying that really first expensive tool? You know, what was it, and what was it that pushed you over to buy it, I guess?
I'm trying to think what I would probably say that my saw stop would have been the first large expense that I bought brand new, if I remember correctly. For me, I think each tool is a little bit different. For me, I was thinking about like, oh, I could buy the table saw. It's going to be the last table saw I ever buy. And so then you start getting into like looking at price points and determining, this compared to this versus this. For me, one of the big selling points with the saw stop was obviously the safety technology, because there wasn't another company that produces anything like that. But it wasn't just that, it was also the name, right? It's lots of people own saw stops. There's tons of content about it. So for me, it was like, with the table saw, it was okay. I started with a contractor saw. I moved up to the hybrid, rigid 4512 or whatever. And it was like that next logical step is the long-term thing, right? So I went with what I knew at the time and assumed was one of the top companies on the market. You know what I mean? I went with a company that I felt like I could buy, and that would be the last one that I ever bought. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for me, a big part of that was, the brand and the quality and other creators. Because obviously I looked on YouTube and everything else to see what I could find, who was using it, what their thoughts were. So that definitely did steer my decision making for that first major purchase.
Yeah. What about you, Sedge? What was your first big tool purchase or expensive tool purchase?
I bought a wheel after it was invented. Okay, so this is really cool because every time I'm with you guys, I learn a lot. You're going to laugh. You're going to understand, oh, Sedge is an old guy. Okay. I'll talk about my first table saw. Okay. I didn't have two damn nuts to scratch.
Did you have to push the pedal to spin the wheel?
Yeah. No, there was, guys, when I started, there was no YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Okay. My first saw was a Delta contractor saw, and I didn't really pay anything for it. I earned it. Somebody found out that I really liked woodworking. His name is Ralph Jackson. He's my mentor down in Fort Lauderdale. And he said, hey, is this the way he wanted to teach me some really cool stuff. He was a professional finisher. He still is. All these guys ask Ralph questions. He's taught at the Smithsonian. This guy knows his stuff. So he said, hey, you want to come in? I go, I can't afford that saw, Ralph. He had just bought a Unisaw to upgrade. And he goes, well, come in and earn it. And I worked I think it was about 6-7 weeks in there, part-time in the afternoon. And he gave me the saw. Okay, so let's fast forward a few years after that. I got my first Powermatic 66. I came about it because I bought it used. But here's how I made my decisions back then. I was really lucky to work for a company down in Fort Lauderdale called International Tool, and I was the table saw guy, the bandsaw guy, the lathe guy, jointer guy, planer guy, because I assembled them. And when a pro would walk in, it's basically YouTube before YouTube. I would ask the pros, why are you buying this? And I was the assembler of these machines for people who didn't want to put them together. Either they didn't have the time for a pro shop, or it was an amateur who wasn't too keen on putting stuff together. But I put every one of those together, and I knew every nut and bolt on a 66, everything, DJ8, every bandsaw out there, and I knew the difference between all of them. So guess what I bought? I bought the best. I saved my money. Like my first slide compound miter saw was a Hitachi C8FB2. And I said to everybody, why are you buying this? Because that's the only one the pros would buy, the Pro Trim Carpenters. And they go, it holds its accuracy. So I was really blessed in knowing about machinery that way. I guess I was using YouTube, but it was face-to-face YouTube back then. I would ask the pros, what do you like about it? But I also was very blessed to be able to assemble all of these. So I knew what was crap and what was really good. Now,
And
when
that's a
I
really, really good point.
when I heard this question, I wrote down, and I'm not trying to get ahead of everything, but I did it in just so what came first to my mind. I wrote down bandsaw, table saw, jointer, planer. I just wrote down 4 tools. Okay. And when we go on, I'm just going to tell you how I came about, what my decisions were. I told you how I assembled machinery, but I wrote down and I did it in a loop. So what was the first thing for a bandsaw? I wrote it down. What was the first thing for a table saw? What's the first thing that came to my mind? Jointer and planer. And then I went back, and it was really cool because there was a common on a couple of them was a common. So it was cool. So that's how I made my choices going. And I know we'll go back and loop around to different machines, hopefully, so we can talk about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the conversation, it will branch off onto specific things, because like my answer led me to what we'll probably end up talking about. So I think time and all that stuff. But Ben, what about you?
You know, for me, I think it's always you know, there's a need that comes up that your current tools cannot, a capability that you need that your current tools can't fit. And for me, what I consider my first big tool purchase was the TS75. That was the first Fest tool that I bought, but it was also the first tool that was above $500 that I ever purchased. I think the most expensive tool I had up to that point was I had a rigid 1512 contractor saw. And I'm gonna reach back to one of the previous episodes. I don't remember which number it was, where we talked about buying tools. You know, how do you figure out what do you want to get next? And there are 2 main philosophies that I kind of go by when it comes to purchasing a new tool or anything for my shop or, you know, my hobbies, whatever, which is I start looking for the next best thing or you know, something that is going to meet my needs whenever my current skill surpasses the capabilities of my current tools. So like with the TS75, I was making custom furniture at the time, and when I was processing sheet goods on the table saw, I was not getting the quality cut that I knew that I wanted to get. And you know, I tried jigs, I tried in-feed, out-feed, I tried all these different things. And I just was not getting the cut that I knew that I wanted to get. Like, I had an idea in my head of what these products looked like, and the tools that I had at the time were not getting me those results. And so I wanted to do more. I knew that I was capable of making something better, but I was being limited by the tools that I had. So that's the first thing. And then the second one is, when I'm looking at a tool, I want the quickest, most the path of least resistance from the time I bring the tool into my shop to the time that I'm making something with it. Like said, you were talking about how you assembled, you know, the bandsaws and the planers and the joiners. Like, I don't want to do any of that. Like, that is not my idea of enjoyment or having a good time. Like, I believe that we should all know our equipment and how it works, but I don't want to assemble anything. I don't want to have to put things together. If I'm going to buy something, it's coming to me in an assembled manner, you know, with the exception of a couple of things, just because you can't ship it completely assembled, and that's understandable. And I think for me, that kind of goes back to buying high end or top end tools. Is I know that whenever I get that tool, that high end tool, that I'm not going to want something else for quite a while. You know, unless my production changes for some reason. Mm-hmm. Like the first thing that comes to mind is the Castle 110. It's a really great tool. It makes exceptional quality pocket holes. There are other bigger machines that Castle makes. There are other pocket hole machines out there. But right now, for my production work, what I'm doing for content, that is the very best that I can get. And I know that once I get that, I'm not going to be sitting back thinking, man, I wish I would have bought the castle, not the contractor or the credit contractor. Go ahead, Jason.
I just learned how to do that, by the way. It's pretty cool, right?
Jason raised his hand in Zoom. That's how I knew that he needed
Yeah.
something.
Somebody did it in my Paul Gale did it in my group call, and I was like, wait, what? I can do that? This is a difficult. This is going to generate good discussion, this topic period, because I think one of the biggest problems and why people struggle with this so much is because of content creation and because there are so many options out there. And this is the reality. When you are talking about a company like Powermatic, SawStop, Grizzly, Harvey, all these companies that make these big table saws, right? Are you going to see differences in them? Yeah, but you're also going to see a difference in price. Are you going to see some that are more prevalent than others? Absolutely, right? Really good example of that would be SawStop. And you're going to see others that are less. So it's like the more things that are fed to you via social media now on a particular brand, the more intrigued you're going to come. So that's something that I wanted to highlight, because you did talk about other creators. I can understand why it seems so overwhelming to people. The other side of this is price. And this is going to sound super big-headed, like my pockets are super deep. And I can assure you that that is not the case, even though I have Ferraris and a jet and a helicopter. Thanks to patrons. But
Hashtag humble brag.
yeah.
Hashtag humility.
Let me give you an example of Festool. When it comes to a Festool product, if a product comes out and I'm interested in buying it, one of the last things that I'm actually looking at is the price. And this goes back to my original comment on the table saw being my first major purchase and how that changed my perspective on things, because I invested in a good tool, I got good results, and it changed the way that I bought tools from that point forward.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's not at that point yet. And I'm not, again, whether you have the money or not, people aren't thinking about it that way, right? But once you start to go into a brand and you have purchased something that you feel you got your money's worth, that's when everything really changes. And that brings up the conversation, because I get asked all the time. Matter of fact, I just had a conversation about similar to this topic the other day. And it was talking about, have you ever heard of X brand? I'd never heard of it. And my assumption is that it's comparable to some of the more expensive machines, but it is cheaper, right? And it's hard for me to answer a question like that because I've never heard of the brand. I don't know anything about it. And the reality of it is there's probably a lot of similarities between it and another tool. And will it get you by? Yes. But have you got to that point yet where the purchases you've made have given you reason to put cost as a secondary to, maybe finding something that suits your needs and is a good brand and a good reputation? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Sedge?
And okay, so let's go into that, because it's looking under the hood, which a lot of people don't have the ability to do. There's a lot of content out there that people don't do that. When I say look under the hood, one of the biggest things with a table saw that I've always checked out is how beefy is that trunnion. Okay. And the reason you need a beefy trunnion underneath that cast iron, everybody thinks it's the cast iron top. It's the trunnion that dampens the vibration. So at that tip of that saw blade, so you have less run out. And that is so important. Now, what's really cool is, yeah, I know I'm involved with Festool, and SawStop is part of that TTS family. But even before we joined forces, I'm going to tell you, I always bragged about the SawStop, and it wasn't about the saw, the flesh sensing technology. I talked about how goddamn well built that saw is.
Yeah.
Okay. It is amazing. It is a big beefy trunnion, ton to dampen that vibration at that tip of that saw blade. Okay. And that is so important. So you said something that is so important. One of the choices, or Yeah, I work for Festool, but one of the things that people don't understand, there's warranties and then there's industrial commercial warranty. It ain't, and that is another way to choose. You got to look at that company that is making that. They have a great reputation. Okay. And there's a lot of great companies out there, but you're going to pay a premium for them because they stand behind their product and they got an ironclad warranty. Okay. And guarantee. You know, they got great customer service, and sometimes you got to look, hey, what's the service after the sale? Hey, what's their tech support like? You got to look at that. Are they responsive to tech support? Are they responsive to questions? Are you getting a yeah, or are you getting a qualified person on that telephone call? It's, you know, I mean, we had a discussion once, and I said, just cancel the order, because that's a telltale sign to me that you're going to have a problem on the back end of it. You don't want that. You want that. You're going to spend a premium price there. Better be a warm and fuzzy feeling behind it.
Yeah.
And okay, so it's a no-brainer. Okay, I work for Festool, and I am so daggone proud to be part of that company because we go way, way beyond. And that's why I'm so proud to work for that company and TTS. And we have absolutely phenomenal other companies like a SawStop, like Shaper. You know, it's amazing. But it's the customer support behind it. Okay, and I'm done.
No, I'm glad you brought up, said that was one of the points that I've written down was long-term support. So, and I kind of want to back up, and I don't know if Jerry is actively looking for a tool or if
he's always looking for tools because of us. Sorry, Jerry.
What a great guy you are, Jerry. I'm not kidding. You're a good dude.
It can be incredibly overwhelming. And said, you kind of said it with how many content creators there are out there that are putting content out about tools. It can be very overwhelming because of the amount of information that is on there. And for every positive video you can find out about SawStop, you're going to find a negative one, you know? And so it's like this diatribe of like, okay, well, what's really the truth, you know? So, and said, you kind of talked about it about, you know, what is going to give you the warm and fuzzies. And like, I don't mean to get like too like deep and personal, but you got to go with your heart, right? Because your brain, your mind is going to fight you on everything. It's going to, you know, tell you, look at this, look at that, look at this spec, look at this spec. Like, go with what your gut is telling you. And I mean, you know, whatever that tool is. So everyone knows that I want a CS70. Like, there are plenty of other saw brands that I could get, right? There's a Woodcraft near me. I can go to Lowe's, Home Depot. I can get all these, you know, I have access to a lot of American tool brands. I can get a Mafell if I wanted to. But for whatever reason, my heart is just set on a CS70. Even if I never get it, I will always want one. And when I had kind of started to get rumblings that
he actually rubs my CS70 when he's at the shop.
I do. I smell it.
Yep.
I touch
Smells
the
so
aluminum.
good.
I touch the extruded aluminum tops.
It just takes up so much space. I'm thinking of getting rid of it.
Just throwing it away. Just
throwing it away.
Yeah. You can turn it into a pop can. Just melt it down. What I did is instead of going to YouTube and looking up all these videos, because, you know, one thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if it's just because I'm a marketer, but I have an issue, not an issue, but it kind of bugs me whenever someone is posting a review and they quantify the characteristics or the qualities of the product by saying, oh, it's great. Like, okay, great compared to what? Like Sedge, what you just talked about with SawStop and the build quality, and like you went into detail why you think it's good. That is a good review because it's quantifiable. Now I know why you think it's great. If I just said, oh, buy these gloves, they're great. Okay, great to what? Not having hands? Like, what is it? What is it great compared to? So,
and I didn't even talk about the safety factor of it. I was talking about the
build.
build.
It's the actual build quality. And so, you know, like I said, it can be very overwhelming with content creators. So what I did with the CS70 is I went on Instagram and I typed in hashtag Festool CS70. And every owner, not a content creator, I mean, I'm sure there were maybe some content creators, but every owner post that had ever used that hashtag came up. And I messaged every single one of them, hey, I'm looking at a CS70. What do you think about it? Do you really like it? I got so many messages about it, all of which were positive, and these are the people that own the tool. This is not someone that, got a free product, there's some type of value exchange to publish a video on their channel. For the most part, these were unbiased opinions because they paid with their own money. They did their own research, and that was the tool that they ended up buying. And so going back to what I was saying with going with your gut, whatever your gut is telling you to do, when you do your individual research, do that. Get on Instagram and look for people that have that tool, that use it, and then ask them what they think about it. What are some things that you didn't like about it? What do you really love about it? If you could change one thing about the tool, what would it be? Because you may hear a bunch of things that people don't really like about it, but to you, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Go ahead, Jason.
So I'm really, this is why I like this topic and this conversation, because it's driving itself. What you just said is really something I wanted to hit on, and I want to elaborate on that more. But before, I want to go back to a comment you made, truth versus, false on social media. So there's this is closely related to what you just said. Ben is totally right. And this is coming from a guy who makes videos about tools, right? There's a lot of different thoughts and opinions and stuff like that on any brand. And there are channels out there that will just bring in all the free tools. They'll take whatever money's thrown their way. They're going to promote it because they're getting the tools. And the purpose of that video is to highlight certain things from that company, not compare it to anything, not give their personal beliefs. It's just to highlight things about the tool as much as they know for the 10 minutes they owned it, and then move on to the next tool. There are accounts that do that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's accounts that are dedicated to literally every single post, every video. It's just a new tool. Brands like that, they put it out there, but they're not really giving their overall, hey, I've been using it for this long. These are my thoughts. I would compared to X, Y, and Z. Then there are channels that do that. There are channels that do compare to other things that they've used. But this goes back to what Ben was saying about, he reached out to every individual person that owned the saw because he wanted the perspective of the person who owns it and has actually used it, not the people who just did a video on it to do a video on it. And as much as people don't want to admit it, there are plenty of YouTube videos out there that are not labeled properly, that they're not disclosing that they have some sort of arrangement with somebody and that there is money involved. They're not just making the video out of the kindness of their hearts all the time. And that really clouds it clouds the information. And that's why people like me or Ben or Sedge or anybody else who is just trying to make content to help people, in most cases, I do paid partnership, sure, and I'll label it when it is a paid partnership. But people just automatically assume now that anybody making a video about a tool, that it's biased, it's sponsored, and that's really unfortunate. So Ben reached out to all those individual people who he doesn't know, right? But then he also mentioned, reach out to people on Instagram. That's what I would do. The LaMelo, really good example, right? Wanted to have information about the LaMelo. I contacted Keith because I knew Keith had a LaMelo. He was using a LaMelo. I wanted to get his thoughts. I talked to Justin from Rustic Grain Designs about the LaMelo. And I wanted to know from guys that I knew that I value and that I respect and I value their opinion. What are your thoughts about it? And I let that steer me because they're people I trust. So I say all of that to say, find people that you trust in the community. And those are the people that you need to pay attention to, direct your questions to.
Yeah. Trust goes a long way. That's how, what levels do you guys use?
I have Stabilo levels.
Yeah. Why?
Because of the reputation.
It's trust. And they know that. A contractor, a tradesman, they are willing to spend the money because they trust that vial. Okay, and they're gonna spend the money. Stabila is an expensive brand, but guess what? That's the last level they're gonna have because they stand behind their warranty. That's a lifeline warranty on a Stabila level. Even if you drop the sucker, it's amazing. It's crazy their warranty, but guess what that is? That's called trust. And I talked to some of the big wigs at Stabila about that, and they go, "That's what we based our reputation on." And I think I won't ever own another level from anybody else except Stabila.
I'm sorry, Ben. Since he brought that up, I just want to highlight a conversation that I had with my sergeant major, and I wanted to get your guys' input on this. You just talked about Stabila, big name, brand everybody trusts, right? More expensive. Okay.
Oh yeah.
You have companies like Festool, all these other companies, and we were having a conversation about warranties and brands and how certain things are highlighted. And I told him, this is my opinion. The more expensive the tool gets, the more likely it is for you to hear about or see an issue with the tool. And that's just with any company. And the reason that is because when you get to those high priced ticket items, the anger that ensues when something is wrong with it, I feel like is amplified. It gets shared more. It creates more engagement. It creates more anger, excitement, whatever it is. So it's highlighted more as opposed to a tool brand that may be lower quality, lower in price, where maybe they happen on a more frequent basis, but the cost of the tool is significantly less. So you don't really hear about it all that much. Does that make sense?
Disposable tools.
Well, it's not even that. It's just that like a Capex. Let's use a Capex. The common, motors burning up, whatever. If you hear about a Capex having an issue, you hear about it. I mean, it's like a big deal. If you hear about a Makita miter saw, the Craftsman miter saw, you never hear about that, even though it's owned way more. But you just don't hear about it because it doesn't create that much excitement. They're just like, oh yeah, big whatever. Oh wait, you paid $1,500 for a miter saw and it burned up? What the hell? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that it's publicized more. So therefore the feedback or the lash, I can't think of the right word to say, but
people are quick to comment on it.
Exactly.
But it creates that
engagement.
But they're not quick to comment on when we take care of them, like royalty.
Well, I'm not saying just Festool specific, any major brand.
But people don't hear about that, right? They just like to complain. I'm sorry, it happens.
Think about all the products that you have in your house. Okay, let's forget for a moment that you likely got it all at completely different places. Okay, let's assume that you got it all under one roof. Okay, out of all of the things in your house that you've purchased, how many of you left a review on? And I'm not saying that anybody's wrong for doing that. I've been an Amazon member since they only put out books in 2003, 2004. I have never left an Amazon review. I have never. Right?
Neither have I.
I get my product and then that's it. So you're not going to hear about the good things. There are some people that do it because they find that is very fulfilling for them to leave the review, or they want to help out the company, or just how you're saying, Sedge, they have a trust with this brand. They have a relationship with the brand, meaning that they just trust the brand itself. So you're absolutely right. You're not going to hear about all the great things about it. Maybe with the exception of a few people, right, that make content about it. Like I make content solely about Festool because I love Festool and I want people that have it to get better at it. Just like Jason was saying earlier. And so you're right, Jason, like when I'm trying to think of in the fog how many times I've heard of a Capex motor burning up. Maybe twice, right? And some of those were the older models before the motor even got updated. And so you're absolutely right. Like nobody's gonna make a post about Ryobi because their circ saw busted. Well, they expect it to because everybody knows that it's a cheap brand. Like a Ryobi saw. I'm not saying is that the Ryobi is just a victim of circumstance here. A Ryobi saw breaking is the expectation because it is a cheap, accessible brand. So when it does break, nobody's going to make a post like, "Oh God, this Ryobi saw I paid $75 for it broke." Nobody cares because that's the exception. But when you have a tool brand like Festool or Baffel or SawStop or any of these other really top end brands, you're not going to hear of all the great experiences that people have with it. Maybe at the very beginning, like, "Hey, I just got this, the new TSC 55. I love this thing." You're going to see those because people are excited about the product.
Mhm.
But for the ones that have had the same tool for years and years and years and years, nobody's going to post about, hey, it's my 5-year checkup. I just want to let everybody know that my TS75 is still rocking, because that is not the expectation that people have now. I think that if you asked, that people would probably come up and say, "Oh no, I've had mine for however many years and it's
Yeah.
never failed me."
That-
Or if somebody does make a post and it's like this nagging, bitching, like, "Oh God, I can't believe this thing didn't work." And you'll have some old timer that comes in like, I've had an ATF for 15 years and it's never failed me.
Mhm.
Those
It's-
kind of people
it's
come
the
out of the
bad
woodworks.
experience on high ticket items that elicit anger and a response.
So what's funny is the very top thing I have here is look past the nagging. When you're looking
Yes.
for tools, especially high-end tools, look past the people that are just nagging. Look for critical things, right? Like qualified critical things, like, hey, the fence was out of alignment, or the arbor was canted, or the cast iron plate was crooked. Like, those are all quantifiable critiques.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody says $700 for a track saw,
Yeah.
oh hell no. Well, my friend, you have a misconception with the exchange of value, right?
Yeah, I think
Especially with quality.
I think what's tough sometimes is and we'll go back to YouTube, but we'll also go to Amazon because we can compare the two a little bit. Because you have to find someone you trust. We've already said that, right? I have a tough time sometimes when I'm on reading reviews on Amazon, because I do read reviews if I'm buying something of value on Amazon. And I think that's cool what you said, Ben. Look past the nagging, because you'll see. I look, okay, so let's read some reviews. Let's read some of the 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, and then I'll say, okay, what's the bitch on? And then I'll go, okay, I'm glad I read that. And I'll think on it some more, and then I'll ask somebody. And then I go to YouTube to watch a video on it. And this, I'm not talking about a tool. I'm talking about like maybe a vacuum cleaner or a new frying pan or whatever, something for the house. But I'm always curious to see reviews on things. And when it comes to a tool review on YouTube, I don't want to say I've been around too long. I hate saying that because I learn something new every day from somebody. But you can usually tell the guys who really don't know. I always get the kick.
I'm sorry.
I always get a kick out of these guys who take the tools apart and nitpick everything. Vacuum cleaner. I go, big deal. Go away. Who cares? But he gets a billion views on it, and I'm like, wow, people really have that much time to see somebody take apart a has-been engineer take apart a vacuum cleaner.
Well, let me add something to a comment you just made. You can tell the guys that don't know what they're talking about. And this goes back to the comment that I made about the different types of videos. I experienced this when we were looking for like a new mattress or like a Roomba or whatever. You know what you find in all of that shit is you find these videos where it's the top 10 Roomba vacuums compared. There's no information about their opinions or their experience with it. It is only the information about that thing. Oh, and by the way, there's an affiliate link in the video description. They're just enticing people.
Yeah.
And all they're doing is reading you the specs from the company and hoping that one of those specs excites you and you buy from their affiliate link. And they never share their personal experiences, their overall thoughts and feelings. And that's a big problem.
I would say
Yeah.
that if you're gonna go to YouTube, and this is when it comes to high end tools, if you want to watch a review, which they are invaluable, right? Reviews on YouTube. You need to look for the ones when you type in the search bar, go to your filters and filter the video results by the lowest view count, because those are guys that don't have an audience, or they may have an audience, but if they do have an audience and they've been around for more than a few months, they likely have a couple regular audience members that they're speaking to, right? So people that they care about, that they have a relationship with. Again, that they don't have a lot of subscribers, so you know that they're not getting free tools, more or less, for the most part.
Really good. That's a really good point.
But especially
Except he just took away a bunch of my views. Thanks.
low subs, low view count, but with high end tools. Those are the people that either love whatever the craft is that they're doing, and they want other people within their community to have an informed decision about what they're going to get or whatever. I have seen more value, or I'm sorry, I've gotten more value out of videos that no one else sees, that hasn't blown up, because it is a genuine video of their experience, of the opinions of it. And one of my, well, maybe I'll save it for later, but go to those smaller communities is my point.
If you guys want to find that channel, it's Ben Marshall Design.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I was waiting for that. I almost wanted to say, "Hey Ben, are you plugging my channels?"
Yeah. He's like, don't watch Jason's videos. Come watch mine.
I'm dying. I was thinking the same thing.
Well, I'm saying, like, some of the
I'm
worst
messing
reviews
with you.
I've seen are these massive accounts, that have, I don't know, probably around 145,000, 146,000 subscribers. They've got maybe 70 videos or something like that. No, I'm just joking.
You're a jerk. No, I
Hey,
mean,
I'm
that's
saying-
a
I'm
valid,
just saying-
that's a valid point, because people automatically assume that those bigger accounts are, we talked about that when you had stepped away, and they have this automatic assumption based on the tools that they have that they're just getting that stuff. But there's a very clear difference between somebody who's sharing their experiences and their actual opinion. And again, it all goes back to your brand, right? And finding somebody you trust.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
If you're purchasing tools from my links, it's because you trust me for the most part. Some people might have just found that video. I have no idea who I am. They're like, oh, he left a link here. Cool.
Yeah. They're already
And then
in buy
there's
mode.
people who make their living just putting out everything they can. And and sometimes people have a hard time trusting those individuals.
Oh yeah, it's funny, Jason. I'll tell you right now. I did one of those one-on-one trainings that we had the sweepstakes for today. Gentleman in Canada, and he said he was talking about parallel guides, and he was telling me about one brand. He goes, "But boy, I watched Jason Bent's video on parallel guides, and it was awesome."
Mhm.
He goes, "I'm really considering getting the TSO ones."
Mhm.
So I just wanted to give you a heads up that that person who you got the one view from really liked it.
Yeah, it's great. I made it for that one individual. Hey, so there's another topic that we haven't really talked about. When it does come to this, is some people are brand loyal.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
To a fault.
yeah, some people are very brand loyal. And when I first started out, I had the very first miter saw I ever bought was a Craftsman. I went to Sears because they still
Mhm.
sold it in Sears at the time. And I bought a Craftsman. I had this idea in my head that everything I get was going to be Craftsman. How it has to match, right? Then the more I was woodworking, the more I started to realize that that is not an option in most cases, because there isn't one company that makes every tool. You have a company like Milwaukee that makes a very wide array of tools, but do they have a jointer and a planer? Do they have a bandsaw? No, they don't. Right. So where you start to lose is the big tools versus the handheld tools. And to go even one step further, there's not many companies that make every large tool. But you can find, like, Powermatic, Grizzly, I think is a good, two good examples of tool brands that you could basically buy pretty much all of the large machines to include dust collectors, jet, another good example. So that could have a play in it. I got over that pretty quickly. And once I started buying quality tools, that's when it was very easy for me to step away from that, because then you'll start to realize one company doesn't do everything perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And one company doesn't provide everything that I need.
Except for
except
Sedge
Festool.
Except for
Yeah,
Sedge
except
Tool.
Festool. Yeah. No, but again, that's
Sedge Tool.
But Sedge Tool. Yeah, sorry. But that's a good example. If I need a jointer or a planer, I can't get that from Festool, but I can get all of
Mhm.
my hand tools.
From
you know what I'm
Ryobi.
saying? So that is something that is a consideration for some. And there are people
Uh-huh.
out there that are, Ben said it, deathly loyal to a fault. And that's fine. You just have to really, your options become a lot less
It's-
limited.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Or a lot more
blind
limited.
trust. It's blind trust at that point.
Yeah.
So, Jerry, I want to talk to you directly because I'm in the purchasing mode this year of a couple pieces of machinery, and larger pieces of machinery. So there's a few things that run through my head, because it's just not buying a machine. You got to think of the after. Okay, so here's three things that run through my brain when I'm making a decision. Should I get this? Should I get it? Frequency. Okay. How often am I going to use it? Am I really going to use it a lot? 2, how much space is it going to take up in my shop? Okay. You got to look at dust extraction. Okay. Because space and whatever. Do I need to run more ducting? Also, electrical run. Do I got to run what kind of electrical? Do I have to bring in extra electrical? Okay, so there's a lot of little things. Also, when you look at the machines, you got to look at capacity, and frequency goes into capacity. I'll go through one machine with you really quick. When I was looking at one of my first bigger jointers that I had in my shop in Fort Lauderdale, when I look at a jointer, the first thing I wrote on here is length of beds.
Mhm.
Okay, because length of bed is what means the most to me on a jointer. Now, a lot of people go, well, I want a 6-inch joiner, I want an 8-inch joiner, I want a 10-inch, 12-inch, 16-inch joiner. Well, here's what I mean by frequency versus that capacity. Okay, how often are you going to get a 12-inch board? Or do you really need to, or you put 2 6-inch boards? Do you run the 2 6-inch boards through the jointer? Are you going to do that? So when I look at a jointer, my first thing is length of bed. And also you got to look at that and say, well, how long a board am I actually going to run through there? So those are the 2 things I look for jointer. And then I go, hey, how often I'm going to use the jointer? That's my frequency. And then, boy, that takes up a bit of space.
Mhm.
What's really nice is everybody knows Jason's got that 16-inch over under machine. And that's why I'm looking at that. I have a planer now, but boy, I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone and get a really nice one. But when I look at capacity, I don't think I'm going to go with a 16. I think I'm going to drop down a little and go with something. What is it? What's the next
12.
step down, Jason, on that machine?
12.
12. I think I'm going to go with the 12. Okay, because I run across 12-inch boards, and I don't want to rip them down. Okay, and I don't want to do the flip-flop thing on a joiner. I hate doing that. But boy, you got long beds. You can add long beds to that, can't you?
You can add
And
the
I like
extensions.
the helical, and I like the helical head. That you
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
Is that an
I can
upgrade on
count
that?
I can count on 0 fingers how many times I've jointed a 16-inch board.
Yes.
I would 100%.
So
make
there's
do
your
with the 12-inch.
frequency for the capacity. Yep, there's your frequency versus capacity, and you're going to save a couple K on that,
Mhm.
right? So there's a few of the considerations when you're looking at. And then I don't know if we want to go too in depth on other machines, but that's the common denominator for me on all the bigger machines was motor size. But it wasn't the first thing. It was the motor was usually the second size, because I have, and when you look at a planer, I have it's still a lunchbox. I call them lunchbox planers. I get the DeWalt 735.
Mhm.
That's done really good, but that's a intermittent universal motor. When you step up to a larger one, it's an induction motor. You got more power. In other words,
you could pull that board, those bigger boards through, where sometimes the smaller ones get a stall in there because the motor's not powerful enough.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you look at planers and jointers now, way back when helical heads weren't out there. And now with a helical head, man, you know, the insert tooling, that's where I would go on something like that.
Mhm.
So those are just a few things. And the jointer planer combo, that machine you got, Jace, is wicked.
Yeah.
And I think that's the route I'm going to go hopefully this year with that. But you know what my number one purchase is that bandsaw.
Yeah. I don't think that Jerry was looking specifically for what are you looking at for this? What are you looking at for that? I think it was just like what is your overall, game plan for going into it? Like, what are your considerations for picking whatever it is?
Well, let's hit on that.
Well, yeah,
Let's hit on that, and I'll go first. I think we've covered a ton of great information, but let's say, for instance, I want to buy a new table saw, right?
Mhm.
Pretend I don't have the saw stop. I want to buy a new table saw. This is what I would do.
What happened to it?
I cut my hand off, so I threw it away.
Oh, that's terrible.
Um,
That's terrible.
That was a
Yeah,
really
it
bad
is.
impersonation of not having hands, Jason.
yeah, this what?
That's still
Hold on.
really bad.
What'd you
Uh,
say?
Like this.
Okay, so I'm gonna buy a new table saw. This is what I would end up
Would
doing.
you call that table? Would you call it Darth Vader? Because it cut in your Luke.
Can I continue?
You are
So-
my father.
The process that I would go through is I would immediately just start looking at what table saws were available in the budget that I wanted, the budget that I think I wanted. So let's say my budget was $2,500 and I knew I wanted a 3 horsepower table saw. I would just Google 3 horsepower table saw and I would start looking at the prices and I would narrow it down. And once I've narrowed it down to a couple that interest me, maybe I know something about the brand, maybe I have a little bit of familiarity with it. From there, I am going to start doing research on the company's website. And I'm going to find out everything I can find out on the company's website, what the actual specs are, what it's designed to do. And then me personally, I am going to go either to forums and go to YouTube. And I'm going to look for videos that talk about it, whether it's good or bad. And I'm going to get the lay of the land. Once I do that, then I'm going to try to find people that own it and I'm going to reach out to them and ask their personal opinions. People that I trust. And if I identified any common themes, because again, Ben said this earlier, you're going to find bad videos, you're going to find good videos. You're going to find bad videos from people who I just spent $3,500 on this tool and it sucks, right? But like, that's one experience, but because it was negative, this is so closely aligned with like YouTube comments, it's not even funny. I get 99 positive comments to 1 negative comment, but you know the ones that stick out to me?
The
Negative ones, right? Same thing applies with reviews. You're going to remember that negative review. And this goes back to the conversation of why bigger tool brands get a bad rap when they have a bad apple. Every company has bad apples, but I'm going to take all of those things into consideration, right? And then I'm going to decide and make my purchase. Now, if I don't have enough money for the tool I really want, I'm not going to buy a cheaper tool to just get me by. I will wait and save up the money or find a way to get that money and buy the tool I know I want.
Yeah, don't settle.
That is how I would go through the process.
Yeah, I think probably the only exception to that is if you're in the trades and you have to have this, you have to have the capability to get a job done or whatever. Like, I think that's probably the only exception. And even then, I would be trying to borrow, rent, like. But yeah, those.
I just work it into the budget, make the client pay for it.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Why?
Right?
Nothing wrong with it.
Why is this cutting board $2,000?
Because I needed a CNC to flatten it. So Ben,
man.
I mean, is your process, similar to that?
Yeah,
For the most part.
I and again, I think in terms of capability, like what is it that I'm looking, or what is it that I'm trying to achieve? What tools are going to give me that? And just like you, Jason, I wouldn't say that if the tool that I know that I want is really expensive or it's out of my budget, I save my money and I wait. And granted, I have I'm a hobbyist, so like I'm not pressured to buy something right now, right here. But yeah, like I'm willing to wait to get the tool that I know that I really want, that I have done the research on. And when I'm looking at videos, I'm looking for quality reviews, quantitative reviews, substance reviews with substance. Again, if somebody's saying this is great, I love it, it's cool, that's not quantitative. Like that doesn't tell me anything. It's like, okay, that it's great compared to what? If you are comparing anything, or I'm sorry, if you're overviewing something, if you're comparing something, you're reviewing something, and you give like an adjective, but you don't give a number or data with it, then it's kind of meaningless, right? Like all things are relative. You have to compare it to something. I mean that's it. You have to quantify it. Otherwise, you're just kind of giving platitudes out there, like, oh, Jason's a great guy. Okay, why? I don't know. He's great.
Well, we don't need a reason for that. Everybody knows.
So in college, I did a lot of quantitative analysis with girlfriends. And
Okay, so
I knew why
Susie is really good at this, but Jennifer is really great at that. And Jeff, he's really good at this.
Jeff.
quantitative analysis,
Yeah.
lots of research.
Sedge, do you have anything different
Because you
in the process? Or is it pretty much in line with that?
I think that when it comes to big tools, that waiting, being patient, is probably the best thing that you can ever do. Not to rush it.
having used I like to use tools first if possible. So
That's
if I
another
have
good
a
one.
friend,
Good
who
point.
has one, I go mess with it.
That's a
Jason,
really good point.
Jason, you've been over a few times messing with hand planes, right?
Yeah.
And every time I said it, make sure you buy the good ones, and you've used them. But I have a tough time sometimes when I go to a retail store and I'm talking to somebody, and because I've been in that person's position, and it's really easy for someone said, I don't know. And I'm gonna call somebody out. His name is Rick, and I met him in 2007 at the local Woodcraft here in Indianapolis. And I was looking to buy a pinner. I'd left my Porter Cable pinners back at the shop. I had 3 of them. Mikey kept them all. We needed them. He needed them down there. And I heard the Grex brand was good. Okay. But they also sold the Porter Cable pinner there, the micro pinner, 23 gauge. So Rick said to me, he said, I go, which is it? Are these Grex everything they say they are? And he goes, I don't know, but let's go out into the shop, and they had a little where they had their they sold their wood. Let's go try each of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by the time I walked back to the shop, and even before I put the air on there, I'm going to tell you what, I was buying whatever this guy was selling.
Yeah.
Because I trusted him. And then what's really funny is I hadn't started the training center in Lebanon yet. And he was one of my first students there. And he looked at me and goes, why didn't you tell me? And I go, dude. And how many times I've told that story during a training class with dealers, it's okay to say I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's very
Right?
empowering.
But
it builds
it's
trust.
very empowering. And then you go and you use it with them. If you have that shop back there, go and try it. You know, that's why I'll bring it around the Festool. A lot of our dealers have sets of demo tools that you can try them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's why we have training. And it's amazing. So I didn't mean to bring it back to that, but I like to use a tool if I can. And
No,
I've had
that's-
a lot of friends in the industry
I think that's a very good point.
that yeah.
That's
And then I'll ask them, okay. And somebody made a point. I think it was you, Ben, not to interrupt you, but I thought it was a killer point. When you're talking to somebody, I think you're talking about the CS70, you asked them a really good question.
Yeah.
What do you like? You ask them what do you like, but what could be better on it?
You ask them open-ended questions. You don't ask
Yes.
yes or no responses. You say,
Yes.
what do you like about it? If you could change one thing, what would it be?
That's it. That's the question. If you could change
Yeah,
one thing.
You ask them open-ended questions that invites them to explain.
Yeah, I'll say, hey, is it worth it? Was it worth it? Is it
Mhm.
worth saving the extra
And-
buckage for it? You know.
And then another
And
question.
they'll-
This
they'll-
is.
and I like it. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm
No,
good.
No, I think we got connect. I got my connection's really slow, so y'all are delayed sometimes. Another great question that I like to ask people whenever, and this is with any tool, is do you wish you had a different tool that did that, like a different brand or a different model or a more powerful model, maybe a model that's not as powerful or like whatever it is, you know? I always ask them that because that could indicate a little bit of regret with their purchase, or you know, maybe they should have gotten something else because of what they do. But yeah, that's one thing I ask is, do you regret getting it, or do you wish you had something different?
Yeah.
There's one more thing I'd like to add to this conversation, and that is the need versus want or think you
Mhm.
need.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that is an unfortunate. I think we may have talked about it on this podcast, but I know I've talked about it on my lives, and I think I've done a video that talks
Especially in
about this. But
Especially in the beginning.
yeah, don't think that you need a bandsaw. That doesn't need to be a determining factor in your purchase, that you have to have one because you're a woodworker.
Yeah.
Take your tool purchases based on what will make the biggest impact for you now.
Yeah.
So many people
Good point.
So many people get bent out of shape and they think, and I fell into the same trap, I'm a woodworker. I need to have a bandsaw. I need to have a drill press. I need to have a miter saw. I need to have this. I need to have that. You may not need that. Don't think that your tool purchase is something off of a checklist of a real woodworker, in quotes, right? You're not a real woodworker if you don't have this tool. I'm a woodworker. I need a drum sander. I need a router table. You might not need one. But what you might need right now is a drill press, because the things that you do, a drill press would make it a million times easier.
Yeah.
So do not let that be a driving factor. Truly think about what it is that you do and what would make the biggest impact in your shop, and let that steer what tool you're going to buy next.
Drill press was the first thing I bought when I moved to Indiana. I get a lot done with a drill press. Yeah, I love them.
Need to get a Nova.
Yeah, I
just
know.
kidding.
I gotta
It
get a
mixes your
table.
coffee for you, doesn't it, Jason?
It does a
On
lot more
coffee
than that, I'll
stir
tell you that.
setting.
Jason, you really like that Drill Press Pro, don't you? That Woodpecker drill press table.
Yeah, I do. I don't like, it's not designed for a benchtop drill press. It's designed for a floor
Oh.
standing for sure. It really limits the travel you have, but it's not a problem for me because I'm not drilling, 4x4s or anything like that. So I've gotten by with it. Dust collection is great. It's a great tool, but when people ask me, I'm like, well, how much capacity do you typically need? And then that's kind of how I steer them in the direction. If they have a bench top, that is. If they have a floor standing, it fit on any of them.
The
Hold on,
one last thing that I would add to it, and it goes back to just
Wait, this
talking
is
about
a
community,
real-
is get on Reddit and go to the different community pages for, like, if it's a brand or a
Ugh.
specific tool.
Reddit. Ugh.
Like Reddit, there's something about the Reddit community. They are brutally honest about whatever it is that they like, whatever their opinions are. They are strongly opinionated. And so if you want to see what people really think about a tool or a brand, go to Reddit and see if anybody has said anything about it. Maybe they haven't talked about every tool, but be careful. They're vicious people. So don't go in thinking you know something, because according to Reddit, you don't.
Yeah.
But that's a good place to see what people's opinions are, because that's where people like to just kind of let things out. Yeah, what's up, Sedge?
Hey, that's another topic. I think we should investigate, because you just made me think, because I've been on professional forums, and yes, I was a professional, so I never got reamed because people knew who I was if I made a comment. But boy, have you ever seen people flame people on a professional forum before?
Uh-uh.
professional forums that are open to general public are absolutely phenomenal. Okay, and I'm going to dangle that carrot in front of everybody because there's one that I will go to, and I did go to, and I continue to go to for a very, very long time, and it's the best one out there. But I tell people, if you're an enthusiast, never comment on it because they'll sniff you out really quick. But the really good part with this one is the archive, because in the search function, you can type it in. And if you think you're having a problem, there's 1,000 responses on that. Okay. And it's the best forum I've ever seen out there. And in this one web place, there's about 20, 30 different forums for all professional trades. That handle wood and surfaces and stuff. It's brilliant.
It's AOL, isn't it? It's America
so-
Online. That's the one that you use.
It was a MySpace.
MySpace.
And you guys, I bet you guys never used it, and it's probably the best resource on the internet. So I'm going to
Next
dangle that
events
carrot.
woodworking.
I think that is an amazing topic, and if I can make that my next topic, because there's several places that I've gone for information when I'm a little stumped, and the communities are phenomenal online. You guys go to them, don't you?
What?
Different communities
Oh yeah, absolutely,
to get questions answered.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
I
Oh
pretty
my
much do
God.
everything. I don't know if you know, but I'm Jason.
Hey, so, Ben, what do you say we bring Hans in, and maybe let's forego the account recommendations tonight.
Yeah. I don't
Oh
have one.
man, really?
I don't have one
Oh,
prepped. Ben doesn't.
Do you have one,
prepped.
Sedge?
I got one that's a double banger because these guys are the coolest. I met them together. They have two different accounts, but I wanted to call them out because they inspire me.
Okay,
Can I do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, their names. They're two guys I met a few years back at AWFS out in Vegas, and they were with their wives. And one guy's name's Josh, and the other guy's name's Justin. And I thought, I'll call one out, and then call one out on another one, another podcast. But I said I want to call these guys out together because they're just great friends, great family guys. And you've probably seen me wear one of the shirts if you've watched the Sedge Tool video. It's Josh's Instagram, and you can go from there on his link tree to see all his other stuff. It's Berserk Woodworks, BESERK Woodworks. It's one word, Berserk Woodworks. This guy he inspires me. Okay. And then the other guy he is an awesome dude. And they're always calling each other out as friends, and it's a really good thing. It's Justin_Woodworks. And he's got a link tree. You can go see his YouTube stuff and everything. And just two great dudes that inspire me. And I just wanted to call them out tonight.
It's awesome.
It's a community, man. And it's great meeting great people who are passionate about what they do, woodworking.
It is.
Nice. What was the second one you said?
Justin_Woodworks. And they're Mutt and Jeff. And they're just great guys. I couldn't call one out.
Oh
without
yeah,
calling
Justin.
the
I
other
know
one out.
Justin.
You know Justin. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
firefighter.
Yeah.
But Josh saw me wear it. He sent me a T-shirt about a month or two later, and I finally got a chance to wear it. It's one of the first T-shirts I wore doing a Sedge Tool video. I just love this. I love these guys. They're awesome. So remember when we did that podcast? I forget what number. What inspires you? It's the people in woodworking that are passionate about woodworking. Yeah.
It's awesome.
I like Justin's shop. I like his layout.
Yeah.
He likes walnut too.
Yeah, they're great guys.
All
you know,
right.
you know what I like, Jason?
What?
I like it when you share your hatreds with all the internets for all of our listeners. Ladies and
Hans,
gentlemen,
where have you been?
it's me, Hans. Sorry, I was in the kitchen cooking some bratwurst and boiling some kartoffeln, drinking some bit beer. But we just wanted to come to you guys and say it's time for Get Bent. Jason, I have a feeling that you have lots of hatred to read for tonight's show. So without further ado, take it away.
I
Lots
got
of
some
hatreds.
thank you, Hans. I Dankeschön.
You're
I
quite
appreciate
welcome.
So all right. I actually took screenshots of these this morning because like every 4 or 5 days now I go in and like answer all the comments and stuff. And I was like, oh man, these are some good ones. I've got one of them specifically you guys are going to love. I'm going to save that one for last, but I've got 3 that I'll read. First 2 are pretty short. The first one is on my Craig Foreman electric pocket hole machine. Is it right for you? This person says, too much talking, man.
That's
That's
it?
number 1. Yep.
What are you supposed to do? Sign language it?
Yeah. I don't.
Okay.
Too much
Hello.
talking.
Hello, I'm Jason Bent. I'm the world's only interpretive reviewer. So as I hold the products up, you are to take my movements and my expressions as my form of a review. For today, it's this SD card from SanDisk. Thank you.
Yeah. Remarks complete.
Share your
Interpretive-
hatreds.
Interpretive review complete.
All right. So this one is for the Festool track saw comparison that I did on the 55 versus 75. Comment reads, good, and man, all those clamps in the back are eye candy since none look used. LOL.
I just got a live one.
Oh, perfect. Hold on. This is the good one. You ready? This is the one I did on the Festool dust
Yep.
extractors, talking about the differences. And Ben, you're going to love it. Very first sentence. He really sticks it to me good. It says,
I'm gonna make a soundbite of that. Just want
Yeah.
you to know.
Sticks it to be good.
Just someone played over and over and over and over.
so-so video, poorly done in terms of being of any value. Highland Woodworking is not the best site for comparisons. They leave out the most critical part, health and particulate comparisons for low, medium, and high-risk contaminants. They also don't cover the accessories that can be used between models. I just loved the first sentence.
Also, I'm a virgin.
Yeah.
Me and my
Who's-
2 subscribers. Me
So-
in my hand.
So video, poorly done in terms of being any value. You know what I wanted to respond to him with? Well, feel free to include that information in the YouTube video that you create for everybody to watch for free. A-hole.
Why did Jason? Why did he call out Highland Hardware?
Did he mix
Because-
up the channels?
No, in the video, I reference that there's a really good comparison between models on the Highland Woodworking website. If they want just
Gotcha.
a quick snapshot of some of the comparisons side by side. I've gotten a lot of dumb comments on that video. People are, oh, you didn't talk about this. That's because I don't need to talk about that. I'm talking about the things that I get asked. Ben, you said you had one, right?
Yeah, it actually wasn't one. I thought it was. I thought this comment was on one of my new video today, but it was for the connecting and proper lining the Festool guide rails. But I feel like that my response was funny. This guy asked, "Can I use a 48-inch level to align it, meaning the track?" And I said, "You can do anything you put your mind to, Igor." But now I thought, like I said, I thought that that was on my newest one today because I was like, what? That didn't even make any sense. But
Oh.
he was using. I see what he was. I see that it was a legitimate question, so I went back and answered it for real.
I do actually have one more that came in after I took the screenshots. It's another just short one. It was on my how to glue up a tabletop. It was like one of my early videos. And in it, I used a domino. And this guy writes, step 1, shell out $1,000 for Festool domino joiner. You know what I wanted to respond to him with? It's actually like 1,200.
Oh, God, you should have.
Maybe when this video is published, you could get it for 1,000.
Correction. Step 1, 1,200. That's
Yeah, I'll
funny.
tell you. Some people, it wasn't about how to align the boards for a glue up. It was about gluing up a tabletop. I just happened to use the domino, which I almost never do in the first place. Anyway, I love people. It's so great.
It is great. Gotta love that hatred out there, man.
There's
So
so
many
many
people.
hatred
So many
on the
people walking
internets.
around with their own negativity from their own lies that they just gotta take it out on other people. Mainly YouTube.
Bring it. It helps fuel
Unbelievable.
our segment.
It does. We've
Well-
turned their contentment into content.
Their
hatreds.
hatreds
That's
on
right.
the internets. That was a really good episode. I think we covered a lot of really good
Yeah,
stuff.
I think that was it was a really good topic.
Yeah,
and,
it was.
and Jerry, there was another patron that was lined up for this episode, but they never got back to me. So Jerry came up with this in just a few hours, and so I thought it was a really great topic. So,
Oh, one more
thanks.
bit of advice for Jerry on his tool purchases. Jerry, just buy whatever I ask you to, and please use my link.
Using my
Thank you.
affiliate links. Jerry just recently upgraded himself to be a top tier patron, which is what which is what anyone else can do. And so if you want us to take a topic of your choosing and turn it into a complete and full episode, then go to patreon.com/Green Citrus Podcast and become a top tier patron, and you'll get your very own episode. So
Yay.
just wanted to thank Jerry. And like I said, I think last month he upgraded himself to a top tier. So Jerry,
Cool. Thanks,
we
Jerry.
appreciate it, man.
Thank
We
you, Jerry.
appreciate all the engagement and
Mhm.
just being a part of the community, man.
Yeah,
We
and
did
I
it.
can't believe tonight's episode 24.
I know.
Wow,
It's crazy.
man,
Hard to
it's
believe.
awesome.
Like it's like
getting
we just
started.
graduated. We just graduated podcast college, and we're about to get our first real taste at life. You know,
Yeah,
as a podcast.
yeah. Next,
Pretty soon we're
Next
gonna start
week's-
having kids. We're gonna, obviously we gotta get married, and things are getting real, man. Our 30s are not that far away, guys.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
we're
man.
aging very quickly.
Very quickly.
Ooh. Well,
Pretty
like that
soon,
Benjamin
me and Ben
Button
are going to be
guy.
like Sedge.
That's right.
dude, I turned
Oh, wait, what we're
29
talking
next
about.
week.
Yeah, right. You have tools in your shop that are probably older than that.
Oh, here we go. Hey, I'll be right there, Abraham.
Yeah.
Hey, yo, Abe.
Yo, Abe. Nice hat. Shave the beard.
What you guys want to call it?
Yep.
Other than
All right.
that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
Oh my God.
gosh. Too
Jeez.
soon. Too soon.
Way too soon. Seth.
Okay.
All right.
God.
BensWoodworking.com.
My sister says that all the time. Sedgetool.com.
MarshallDesignWorks.com, where you can finally buy some plants.
Oh, it works. It works. Yay.
It's up. I got it up last night.
Oh, that's what she said. Hey-o.
Hey-o.
MarshallDesignWorks.com.
Thanks, everybody.
And if you want to find anything about all of us, go to greensuiterspodcast.com.
Hey-o.
Enter our giveaway. This is the last episode that you're going to get a reminder for the February giveaway. We don't even know what March is going to bring. Okay? This month it's unit clamps There's no telling what next month is going to be. Could be nipple clamps for all we know. You think Bessie makes nipple clamps?
Ooh.
I don't know. I'll ask.
Hey, can I get some of those nipple clamps, Bessie?
It's from their.
We're not that kind of a clamp company, sir.
They're on our X-rated.
I just
portion
use
of our website.
I just use K bodies, the short K bodies.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right. Let's get out of here.
All right. Thanks everybody. We'll see you guys in the next community
Thanks,
episode.
everybody.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, this has been co-host and editor of the Green Suiters podcast. This episode is over, but if you want to hear more topics like this and you want to be a part of our conversation, head over to patreon.com/Green Suiters podcast for early access to each show. If you're listening to this on free feeds, be sure to leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.